But first tonight, that story which has shocked the world, not just cricket lovers, but everyone interested in sport. Australian batsman Phil Hughes has succumbed at the tender age of 25 to his injuries earlier today. The left-handed batsman passed away in a Sydney hospital 2 days before his 26th birthday. His death after being struck by a bouncer 2 days ago is a chilling reminder that cricket too is a dangerous sport despite the use of protective gear. The cricketing world is mourning the death of a promising player.
Take a look at this. Now that's the gap. If I can just, Vedika, wear the helmet and exactly show you once you're wearing the helmet. Here's the batsman waiting for the ball. He goes through the shot. He sees the ball coming that he's missed, and then all of a sudden, once he tilts his head away, look at the gap. That has increased. This gap has increased here, and that's exactly where the ball struck.
Cricket Australia have abandoned the tour match between India and Cricket Australia 11 after the untimely death of Hughes. With time, cricketing technology has advanced. The protection gears have become better. But these unfortunate incidents are rare, but a stern reminder.
It's truly a tragic day, a day which really shakes everyone who's ever played this sport. The death of a cricketer. Is modern sport no longer safe? That's the question that I want to raise today. You know of car racing, but what about cricket? The first death really of a test cricketer on the cricket field in this manner. Joining me now, Nikhil Chopra, former test player, is with us. Also joining us is Gaurav Kalra of ESPN Cricinfo. But before I come to my panelists, I want to go to a special guest. A short while ago, I spoke to 80-year-old Nari Contractor. He was a former India captain, and he was hit by a cricket ball by Charlie Griffith way back in 1962. Those are the images of Nari Contractor in 1962. And the first question that I asked Mr. Contractor, similar incidents that you faced all those years ago. You were struck on the back of the head by a rising ball from Charlie Griffith. He had a metal plate you had a metal plate inserted into your skull. Today when you heard that Phil Hughes had passed away, what were your first thoughts, sir?
Oh my God, my first thought was about his family. I mean, because I don't know how much pain they must have undergone. And again, because I know what my family has undergone. He's still alive, but he is no more. Really a sad day for cricket, and sad day for the Hughes family.
What are your thoughts on the bowler in a way? Because Sean Abbott, the bowler who bowled that bouncer, his feeling much like that Charlie Griffith delivery which hit you. I mean, a bowler bowls presumably to get a batsman out, not to kill him, sir.
Yeah, I guess this will be the case. We will always remember it. And Siraj, these are accidents, boss. I mean, so how can you just hold yourself responsible? You know, I mean, the intention was not to kill, intention was not to hit him, intention was to bowl a short ball to get him out, you know. And unfortunately, as I read today in the paper, that he was not wearing the right type of helmet or something of the kind.
I'm going to come to that, what kind of helmet he was wearing, sir, but just one more question. You came from an era where there was no helmet, and I'll play those pictures of you getting hit. Do you think cricketers at the end of the day are much safer now than they were in your time, sir?
As a matter of fact, Raj, I had never perceived that this can happen after the helmet scheming. You know, because I have seen so many people, 20, 30 people getting hit on the head. Some people are actually offering their head when they are not in a position to play the ball. And nothing happens. But it appears that his injury was because of use of a helmet, and probably below the ear, somewhere he has got hurt.
Nari Contractor there speaking to me earlier today. The world of cricket today is in mourning. Nikhil Chopra and Gaurav Kalra are with me at the top of the 9 o'clock bulletin. You've got a helmet there with you. I want to understand this. How come in the age of helmets does a player get an injury which kills him? I just want to understand that. I saw a little bit of you in that story trying to explain it, but try and explain it to our viewers. What exactly happens? Why can't a helmet be foolproof?
Well, put it this way, Raj. When you wear a cricket helmet, at the end of the day, you know the visor is there. protects the grill. Now, in terms of comfort level, a lot of batsmen, what they do is either cut off the front half of the grill, or you can adjust it from the side and make it down so that you get the clear vision. But in Phil Hughes' case, he saw the ball, he went for a pull, he went a little too quickly. In terms of anticipation, the ball came a little late, and he caught the ball with probably the corner of his eye. And as soon as he tilted his head, in terms of reflex action, trying to duck away. Now you watch that gap in between the helmet and the neck. Now, if I was here, if this is the way I'm actually just moving away, there's hardly any gap. But as soon as I tilt it away, the helmet lifts a little bit, and that's exactly where he got hit, at the back of the head.
So you're saying that the ball missed this part of the helmet and hit him at the back of the head. There was an artery, we are told, which as a result, burst.
And that's what happened. Because he completely missed it, and it got him on the back of the head. Had he gone for the shot, anticipation, had it come quicker, he would have got the ball on the grill, on the face of it, and probably nothing would have happened. But it's just that as soon as he missed the ball, the neck moved a bit, in terms of reflex action, the gap between the helmet and the neck, the shoulder increased, and it was fate, or whatever you might call it, Rajdeep, half an inch higher, the ball would have struck the helmet, and he probably would have just taken off his helmet, had a look at it, probably changed the helmet, and probably carried on batting.
I'm going to ask you also in a moment about the visor that you use. You say some batsmen do not like to use that because they feel that will obstruct their sight.
Correct.
But that means tomorrow I could be hit straight on the nose, and my nose would break.
It's happened in domestic cricket.
That's right.
Happened.
So nose breaking is one thing, but hitting an artery which leads you onto the brain is a freak accident in that sense. But Gaurav, freak accident or not, people will say today that cricket at the end of the day has a 5.5 ounce hard ball. We know that people die in racing tracks. We've seen people die on football fields in recent years. But on a cricket field, death is something that we haven't heard of in a very long time. Raman Lamba died while fielding, but here someone has died while batting. Is there a sense, when you're talking to your correspondents in Australia today, that there is a fear factor that has returned to the game?
Yes, in fact, Rajdeep, I think Nikhil will agree, he knew Raman Lamba quite well, that it was a little bit careless on his part to field that short leg without wearing a helmet. So in some ways you could attribute it to a certain level of carelessness from Raman Lamba. In this case, you could not. You're absolutely right, it was a freak incident. And I think, Rajdeep, one point made today by Ian Chappell to us was very important. He said that while he fears for the batsman, he actually fears much more for the bowlers, because there's a lot of machismo in fast bowlers. You've been a batsman yourself, Rajdeep. You know how they come out and try and intimidate batsmen, but they really do not want to be hurting you. Forget about killing you. They do not even want to be hurting you. They just want to be putting fear in you. And here it is. Now just imagine this scenario. Mitchell Johnson, the fastest bowler in the world, in a week from now will be bowling at young Indian batsmen, knowing that just a week ago an incident of this kind has happened. How will this play in his mind? How will bowlers start responding to situations of this kind? I think that's been one of the fallouts of this situation. Cricket, now in the way that it's played, at least in the short term, there will definitely be some kind of psychological impact, because you just saw pictures of Sean Abbott today. The boy is absolutely devastated.
In fact, that's the question. While
you can tell.
While we grieve with Phil Hughes' family, Sean Abbott, Nikhil, you're a bowler. A bowler doesn't bowl to kill. No. A bowler bowls to intimidate.
Absolutely.
He wants to scare the batsman. But what happens to someone like a Sean Abbott today? Is he going to be able to deal with it ever in his life, that a ball that he bowled killed a teammate of his?
I was reading, and I'm sure Cricket Australia and a lot of people around him would be getting him all the help possibly can, in terms of counselling, that it was one of those freak accidents. I'm sure Cricket Australia, a lot of people around the world would say that, in fact, you and I were talking off air that probably the helmet has saved many more lives. You look at batsmen who get hit on the head, take off their helmets and put it back on again. So those are probably pictures that sometimes you'll have to show the fast bowler, Abbott, saying that you obviously didn't want to kill, Phil Hughes. It was just a freak accident, half an inch here or there. At the end of the day, you're probably scaring him, looking to induce that fall stroke to get his wicket.
But will the nature of the helmet have to change? Will we have to find some new? I mean, what is a cricketer going to have to wear now? They wear chest pads, they wear thigh pads. Now they're going to have to wear something that covers the brain completely.
Well, this helmet, the traditional helmet, so-called, covers the most important parts. But it's just that maybe an extra grill, Rajdeep, the visor, that you can just connect from the last part and take it down further. That, at least saves some part of the neck. Because you've got to be careful, because as a batsman, you would know as well, once you turn over your left shoulder, you cannot have the grill so far down that it actually starts touching the shoulder, because then it starts obstructing the view as well. So you'll have to design it with great amount of care as well.
Gaurav, my final question then, do you see this changing the game in any way? Do you believe that some of this machismo that you spoke about in the sport will lessen as a result of what we've seen today? Or will I see a Mitchell Johnson next week staring the batsman down every time the ball whizzes past an Indian batsman's nose? Do you believe some of that will change at all?
Maybe some of the language of the game needs to change. Rajdeep, sometimes you hear so much about, I'm going to kill you on the field. We remember last year's incident when Michael Clarke, who was by Phil Hughes' bedside throughout this entire last 2 days, actually issued a threat to a number 11 batsman in James Anderson and said, be prepared for an profanity broken arm. I mean, it is the kind of language that the game has, imbibed. You see the commentary from last year's Ashes series, and it's, it's very gladiatorial, it's celebratory, but I don't know if that can continue anymore about this kind of, cricket. It is one of the great sights in the game, Rajiv. You're a devoted cricket fan. You know this. It's one of the great sights in the game to see a really quick, fast bowler bowl and put the fear of God in batsmen. But now, at least in the short term, I sense cricketers will be very fearful every time someone gets hit, and perhaps fast bowlers are going to worry about what damage their bouncer can cause. Obviously, over time the game will heal, players will heal, but in the short term I sense there will be an impact.
For today, the poor sport has been scarred, as you said. Hopefully time will heal it. Phil Hughes sadly ran out of time. Nikhil Chopra and Gaurav Kalra, appreciate your joining us. My take right at the top tonight on India at 9. The reason why we put this on the top is because quite simply cricketers are not expected to die on a cricket field. The death of Phil Hughes on the cricket field is a reminder that no game is completely safe. A cricket ball is 5.5 ounces. It can kill. Helmets have made the game safer, but freak accidents like that which felled Hughes today can still happen. Sport is the ultimate contest between bat and ball, but the gladiatorial edge mustn't blind us to the inherent dangers. While the cricket world grieves, spare a thought today for the bowler Sean Abbott, who will have to live with the fact that his bouncer killed a dear mate. And from the tragedy of cricket, let's turn to the shame of cricket today. The latest in the Mudgal report hearing in the Supreme Court. The Apex Court has raised more questions today of the issue of conflict of interest related to the BCCI President-in-Exile N. Srinivasan, as well as now Team India captain Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Uncertainty now over the possibility of N. Srinivasan making a comeback to the BCCI, also over the survival and the future of the Chennai Super Kings in the IPL, with the Supreme Court asking the BCCI whether Srinivasan should be kept out of the BCCI polls, even questioning why Chennai Super Kings franchise should not be scrapped. The new entity that came up in the hearing was Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the court expressing displeasure over the Team India captain holding an important post in Srinivasan's company. India cements saying that a dual role is a matter of concern. The big question, are N. Srinivasan and Mahendra Singh Dhoni then both guilty of conflict of interest? Let's take that question to Lalit Modi, who's been taking on Srinivasan on precisely this count for a very long time. He joins us from London. Mr. Modi, today the Supreme Court giving an observation, not an order, an observation on conflict of interest. But many will say this conflict of interest has been built into this entire sport and the IPL ever since the time you were IPL chief. People who held posts in the BCCI had interests in IPL as well. Your response?
Rajdeep, I inherited the problem. Yes, I'm responsible for it. On the other hand, I realized about the problem way back in second season in 2009. I started to raise the issue then, and that is the reason that even today we are in the battle. If it had been raising the issue way back in 2009, we wouldn't have been where we are today. As far as me accepting it, yes, I'm responsible for it, but at the beginning, when building the IPL, we did not know what the issues would be. And now, when we came to realize about the issues, that's when we addressed it. And the issue is always we should admit to our mistakes and move forward.
No, hold on. Lalit Modi, the question I asked you, the structure of the IPL that you created is such that conflict of interest was built into the system. When you started the IPL, the Rajasthan Royals, we are told, many of the people who bought that franchise were friends and relatives of yours. So conflict of interest is built into the system, whether it is N. Srinivasan or whether it is a Lalit Modi.
When I started the IPL, there were no buyers. There were very, very few buyers. We only got 11 bids for 8 teams. And it's only, nobody realized at that point in time. But as far as I'm concerned, I've been totally unbiased. And I'm biased if Rajasthan Royals and Chennai Super Kings are found guilty, both should be trapped. I have no love loss with one or the other. I've always been unbiased. I'm the first to find Rajasthan Royals in year one, even at the auction time when they had spent less budget. So I've always been unbiased in my approach. And in fact, all the 8 franchises are friends of mine.
No. The fact is,
extremely because they trusted me and they invested in the franchise.
No. What I am trying to say is the general belief is that the IPL and the BCCI have been a cozy club. What the Supreme Court has said today is that essentially this club has a conflict of interest. You and Srinivasan have been part of the cozy club. You fall out with Mr. Srinivasan and he is today the bad guy. And you know, in a sense, all I am saying is that this entire structure is built for conflict of interest because you all are a part of a nice little private club.
Fell out only with him because of the realizing that the conflict of interest. When he asked me to change, when he asked my team to change the umpire posting in South Africa, when I realized there is more than meets the eye, and then I've not been a cricket minister all my life. I only started in 2006, and when I came, and my dream was to build the IPL, I built on it, and we didn't foresee all the problems, and as the problems came, we did away and we moved on. But Mr. Srinivasan did it, basically made a business out of it, and that's what became alarming to us when we were watching this.
No, my belief is, there is a general feeling that all of you made it into a business, but do you think now the IPL can survive if the CSK, if the Chennai Super Kings, Rajasthan Royal are banned? Can the IPL survive such a major blow?
I think suspension is not the right word. I think they should be disqualified is the right word. You got to understand Deccan Chargers was disqualified. Pune Warriors were disqualified. Kochi rightly was disqualified. New team will come in. I mean, there is we can re-auction teams off to new owners and put in stringent guidelines. I don't think it's a problem with if anybody breaks the rules, an example must be set. It's not only with the owners, it has to be also with the players. It has to be with the administrators. It has to be all around. And I've been saying that, and I've been screaming from the rooftops for the last 5 years. You have been witness to it. My blogs, my Twitter feed,
I know you've been screaming about Mr. Modi, I know you've been screaming about it for 5 years, but what is strange is suddenly all this is coming into focus because the son-in-law of Mr. N. Srinivasan, Gurumanath Mayappan, has been found involved in betting. Suddenly, therefore, the chickens have come home to roost for all of you in a way, for the way the IPL which you formed and which Mr. Srinivasan has taken forward, was structured. It is a structural issue.
But Rajdeep, if you look at it, 5 years ago also, my rules from day one was all players must go back into the auction. No players must be aligned to a particular team. So Srinivasan is the one who opposed it because he wanted to retain certain players. I have always said there should be no loyalties allowed. Players should be all going back into the basket. It is only a few rich franchises that banded together to change the rule, which I actually implemented. I had a foolproof mechanism for doing away with conflict of interest at that point in time. I also wanted in the third year all the owners to sit on the board. That's when the BCCI got against me. I wanted more transparency, the IPL to move away from the BCCI. That's what I had proposed.
But Mr. Modi, the fact is that this IPL is a subcommittee of the BCCI. It will take instructions from the board. It was never an independent body like the English Premier League. So, Mahendra Singh Dhoni at the end of the day was perhaps dependent on Mr. Srinivasan.
But that is what I have been proposing. On day one, if you look at my first draft for the IPL, it was an autonomous body. It got shut down. And I had to make it work. Then I said, okay, fine, let's start it now. And then in year 3, again, I proposed it to be an autonomous body. I said it should move away. But again, I was hit on the top of the head with a sledgehammer at that point in time.
You know, I just want to understand, from what you are saying, the problem is all about one man, N. Srinivasan. Nothing else matters to you. Get N. Srinivasan out and everything will be sorted out. Is it, Mr. Modi?
No, it doesn't. I'm saying the problem lies with the thing that IPL needs to be restructured as an independent run organization. BCCI can be a beneficiary to the fund, no worries. But the organization must be independent. Let the owners come onto the board. It should be professionally run, and it should be running independently of the BCCI. That's what the IPL should be, and that is what I propose. And I have a full structure which has been presented in the governing council for that purpose.
You know, you're coming on the program as you do often and take the moral high ground. The irony in a way is that you are running away from the country. You're living in London in exile, and Mr. Srinivasan is here. He may not be taking our questions, but you are the one who's run away from the country.
I didn't have to run away from the country. I was asked to go away. I had the mafia after me. I had security issues. If you had people shooting at you, you would too. I have been able to carry the battle. I'm not run away. I'm staying out there, answering every question. Has anybody in the BCCI come and answer the question like me? No. Has anybody ever gone on record? No.
You know, let me ask you in conclusion, are you saying today that for you, is it just Mr. Srinivasan who is culpable? Is the entire system culpable? Is Mahendra Singh Dhoni, the Indian captain, also culpable of conflict of interest?
I think a lot of players are involved. I don't want to name the players as such, but yes, if players are involved, they are in the Muddal report, they should be exposed. We should do a thorough cleansing now. We shouldn't be waiting around. We cannot allow the fraud to continue. Yes, there are many, many big names in Indian and international players which are named. And a lot of proof has been given to the Muddal committee. A lot of proof lies with the ICC and the ACFU, but they haven't acted upon it.
Okay. Lalit Modi, you've given your side of the story. Not surprising that you are gunning for Mr. Srinivasan. We'll have to wait and see what the final Supreme Court order is.